recording this here on Thanksgiving Day. By the way, happy Thanksgiving to all of my friends and family far and wide. You can see I am at my mom's house here on the porch as my kids are playing hide and go seek. So if you hear kids in the background, yelling and screaming and laughing, that's the reason why you hear that. I wanted to talk about real quick as we enter the very last college football, full college football weekend, really before championship weekend next week, and then bowl season, of course, begins in December, and then we get to the of course the big stuff in December. So you see the latest polls out there, college football playoff polls right now. It got released 2 days ago. This for review. This for you guys don't know what it is. Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Ohio State. 3, Michigan. 4, TCU. 5, LSU. 6, USC. Nothing that's surprising at this point now, based on everything's played out. There's been no surprises really here. But the reason I titled this episode of this unfiltered short pod, Don't Count Alabama, is that if you look through 7 through 10, 7's Alabama, 8 is Clemson, 9 is those don't top of my head actually. 9 is Oregon, 10 is Tennessee. The reason I'm saying not to count Alabama is this: I think despite Alabama having 2 losses, I believe Alabama's still in the running to crash the party, if you will. And the reason I say this is because you still have possibilities of things happening on top of the food chain of teams in that top 6 or top 4 for that matter. And I say that not even considering Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. I'm not even considering that. TCU still has to stay unbeaten. I think TCU, of all the 6 teams currently in the top 6, has the smaller margin of error, because I believe the committee would rather put a 2-loss Alabama team in there versus a 1-loss TCU team. So TCU has to still, in my opinion, not only beat Ohio State this weekend, which they should, but again, they've not. Let's put it this way: TCU and style points hasn't really been a thing this year, but they've done their job and won their games. They're still unbeaten, so you got to respect that. But there's no way in hell that TCU with 1 loss is getting into the postseason, into the playoff. Okay, that's just the reality of the situation. Okay, you got LSU at 5. Okay, now LSU is interesting because LSU did beat Alabama. They both have 2 losses, but LSU also plays Texas A&M this week, and then they play Georgia for the SEC championship game in 2 weeks. And the odds are that Georgia will win that game, and if LSU loses that game to Georgia, of course, they're likely not going to be considered for the top 4, barring some chaos. Which leads me to USC at number 6. Now, USC has 1 loss in I'm not going to say a weak Pac-12, but it's a Pac-12 that's always disrespected for the most part. USC has to also win out, to be honest with you. I still think a 2-loss Alabama team will probably get more look-sees than a 2-loss USC team. And the odds of USC actually losing the next 2 games, or at least one of the next 2 games, is actually not higher than you realize. They play Notre Dame this weekend, which actually, that's a game you heard me on the Huddle Up podcast this week. I predicted that Notre Dame will win that game against USC. And even if they win that game, or win against Notre Dame this Saturday or this weekend, I think it's Friday or Saturday, I'm not sure exactly what day it is. Even if they win that game, I still think, the game, I believe they're going to play Oregon for the Pac-12 championship, and they could lose that game. And I think any situation where USC is hanging with 2 losses versus Alabama 2 losses, I think Alabama will still get more consideration. Now, here's the wild card, and this is something that I have to give credit to my fellow co-host Matt Muleisen on the Huddle Up podcast that he mentioned in the on the show, is that number 8 Clemson could be the one team that might be able to spoil that party for Alabama, because Clemson does have 1 loss. Now, Clemson has not been impressive this year, but they only have 1 loss. And Clemson, I think they play South Carolina this weekend, which, after what we saw last week against Tennessee, what they did Tennessee last week, I can't rule out a possibility of them losing to South Carolina. And then they'll play in the ACC title game against, I don't know who they play in that title game. So I don't know the scenario in which Clemson, who they'll play in the SEC title game. But in any case, Clemson Clemson would be the only team I believe would actually maybe leapfrog Alabama, because if they win the AC title game, then I think let's see those scenarios play out, but Clemson wins out. Then you can see a scenario where it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, assuming those games stay close, which I think they will, and then Clemson is the fourth team in the playoff, or even the third team in the playoff. But all I'm saying is this: I just think that it's very it's very unwise to say that Alabama's done. Now, if you're talking about Oregon, you're talking about Tennessee, yeah, they're both done. But Alabama, and the reason I think Alabama's still in this thing, and I'm not even saying it's fair either, for the record. So what is my podcast on Wednesday podcast with Mikey B and Zach? It's not that I actually agree with what the committee is going to do, but the committee loves Alabama. I'm going based on historical proof that the committee will always give Alabama, even at 2 losses, any chance they could to crack the 4 if the chance is there. It's not fair, I agree, but at the same time, it can still happen. So that's why I'm still saying that Alabama is still in the mix to crack the 4. But again, for them to actually truly get there, it has to happen this weekend for the record, for them to truly have a chance to crack that 4. Number one, they got to win their last game of the year, first off. But also, LSU has to lose one next 2 games. Like whether it's A&M or Georgia in the SEC title game. USC has to lose this weekend against Notre Dame or against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. TCU has to lose also to one of the next 2 games, whether it's this game or the Big 12 title game. Okay? And then, even then, Clemson could still be the only team in that situation that can crack the party. But I still think the committee will at least give it a long look at considering 2-loss Alabama over 1-loss Clemson. Not saying it's going to happen. They're saying that the committee's history has shown that they love Alabama, and if they can find any way to control Alabama to the playoff, they will do so. So that's my thoughts today on this Thanksgiving edition of the Unfiltered podcast.